Values are always most important. Values should be in life so that your valuables shine. With all the valuables in your life, if you are less on values, you may lose all of it someday. And with all the good values in your life and absolute zero on valuables, still you can live forever in the hearts and minds of people. Let me give you a case study. Let us have a case study of a comparison between Elvis Presley and Mirabai. In the common terminology, both were singers, Elvis Presley and Mirabai. In the common terminology, both were singers. For Elvis Presley, his biographer has written that he is only the second person in history to become famous by the first name, that is Elvis, after Jesus Christ, Jesus. No biography has ever been written about Mirabai. Elvis Presley, when he was just 21 years age, there were 78 Presley products in the market. Mirabai did not endorse any product. We are having a case study. Elvis Presley has self-owned more than about $500 million. Mirabai had to wait for some donor for a meal, at least one meal a day at the Bake Bihari temple. Elvis Presley had a very good audience, a town hall of this type or a stadium every day in the evening. When Mirabai sung at the Bake Bihari temple, there was no audience. More than 500 million records of Elvis Presley have been sold. We don't have a single record of Mirabai. When Elvis Presley used to travel by road, there was a cavalcade of 7 limousine cars. When the President of America did not have a limousine car, Elvis Presley had 7. Each one of them studded with diamonds on the paint. So from a distance, the shining cars, the cavalcade would come. Mirabai, if she had to go from one place to another, she had to walk. She did not have a car. Elvis Presley, when he would fly, there were 2 Boeings. One would carry him and his entourage with an inbuilt bath facility and bedroom and everything. And the second jet would take his stage and PA system and everything. Mirabai had nothing of this sort. So now perhaps you would tell me, Swamiji, why did you start this case study? Isn't it? Case study, a comparison should be between 2 people of equal status. Yes or no? 2 people of equal status. And why did you would all say, waste our time in a comparison, in a case study between Elvis Presley and Mirabai? Now let me give you a better picture of it. Once Elvis Presley was trying to compose his most famous composition, How Great Thou Art, and his secretary, she just entered the room. And she said, sir, how are you feeling? You are at the peak of your fame. Because when Elvis Presley doing his famous swivel on the stage, putting his 2 hands on the ground, and then he would swivel. And after that, he would open up his leather jacket and throw in the audience. Within minutes, that leather jacket would be torn into small pieces, and people would take as a memory, as a souvenir. And today, in many houses in America, in the sitting room, in the showcase, you would see a small piece of jacket, and people would proudly say that once I attended Elvis live. The secretary said that, sir, you are at the peak of your fame. How are you feeling? Elvis Presley dropped his 2 hands apart from the piano and said, I'm feeling alone. And really, he was feeling alone in the midst of so many people. Such a good gathering and audience every day that at the age of 33, on 16th August 1977, Elvis Presley took 40 sleeping pills, committed suicide. He never woke up the next morning at the age of 36. With so much of valuables with him, fame, money, talent. A study says that 10 Michael Jackson cannot make one Elvis Presley. The greatest entertainer the planet has ever seen. He gave up his life, and that too at the age of 36. Mirabai did not commit suicide. On the other hand, you would be surprised to know, and you would be happy to know as well, that today in India, there are more than 300 people who have done some research, some work, written some papers on the bhajans of Mirabai. They have got their MPhil degrees and PhD degrees, and they with their families are living a good life. So Mirabai today, after 500 years, she has given life to 300 families. Elvis Presley took his life. Mirabai's bhajan gave life to 300 families. Because she had the biggest value. Payo ji maine Ram Ratan Dhan payo. From where all the values descend. From where you get all the inspiration to imbibe values in your life. She had that. So Elvis committed suicide. And today, on each and every bhajan of Mirabai, people live a good life. On bread and butter for their family. So this is a perfect case study of values versus valuables. In other words, Mirabai versus Elvis Presley. Same in the present stories. In the last 5-7 days, you might be reading in the newspapers. Vinod Kamli searching a job. This is again Sachin versus Vinod Kamli. If you want to name this topic. Both started together. 624 runs is their partnership. World record between the two. They played for 3 long days together. In his first test series in 1993, Vinod Kamble scored more than 700 runs in 10 or 11 tests with 2 double centuries. Coach Achrekarji would always tell all his students that both of my students, that is Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kamble, would play for India. But I vouch for Vinod Kamble that he would play first and then Sachin will follow him. But somehow he missed somewhere in life. Late night parties. Sometimes over drinking. Some bad company. And today we can see the difference between Sachin Tendulkar, the god of cricket. Adam Gilchrist was once asked, "Sir, have you seen God?" by an interviewer. He said, "Yes." And everybody was surprised. He said, "I know very well that I have seen God. He plays at number 4 in India." When the great Pakistan pacer Waqar Yunus, he retired, he was asked the best batsman that he has ever bowled. He said, undoubtedly, Sachin Tendulkar. He was asked why. He said that against my flipper and reverse swing, around his legs, he could play a glance even with a walking stick, forget a bat. If you give a walking stick in his hand, Sachin, he can play a leg glance to my reverse swings. This all accolades could have been earned by Vinod Kamble as well. He had all the opportunities because he had all the talents. Again, this topic after Elvis Presley versus Mirabai, Sachin versus Vinod Kamble. And I'm not talking of the big name that Mukesh Bhai mentioned in his introduction at the start of it. One brother at the height of the finance world and the other brother gone away. So values have the power to create valuables. Valuables don't have the power to create values. And values, once possessed, over attachment to it, it has the power to distort your life. At that time, if you are strong on values, you can reset your life. Values have the power to reset your life. This is the most important aspect. Another aspect of values versus valuables is that too much of run for valuables has sometimes, in a reflection of our own self, very clearly told us that we are less on being humans. Too much of valuable possession in your life make us less humans. Gives just a single direction run. This is a 70 or 80-year game, not more. I think we all know it, isn't it? This is a 70 or 80-year game. Google owner Larry Page, he at the moment is going for biomedics research. He has a dream of lengthening the human life of 100, 220 to 150 as well. But at least this generation will not see it. So let's keep it to 70 or 80 years. Too much run after valuables, we lose on values in life. So have a designed run. So have a controlled run. Because the amount of money that you have in your bank account when you die is the extra work you did you shouldn't have done. Or if at all you did, you should have used that money for a better cause. Or as Mukesh bhai said, कफन को जेब नहीं होती. ये आप समझ लो तो वैल्यूज पे आ जाऊंगा. You will come on values. Values पे आप आ जाओगे. कफन को कभी जेब नहीं होती. And 1.5 lakh people leave this earth every day. That is every day 1.5 lakh people means 24 hours, 86,200 seconds. Every 2 seconds, 3 people leave this earth. We started this talk, it is almost like half an hour, 30 minutes. That is 1800 seconds. 2,400 people left this earth. And if for some reason God decides to put tomorrow's full concentration on AMA membership, it is his choice always. We are a speck of dust in this entire existence. We are a speck of dust. You know at least that much. So that is a bigger philosophical statement that I used. But at least we all know that in the map of Ahmedabad, our house doesn't have a place of even a dot. Yes or no? ચોખ્ખી દેશી ભાષામાં આટલી તો ખબર છે ને કે અમદાવાદનો નકશો બને એમાં આપણા ઘર માટે ટપકું મૂકવાની જગ્યા. સર જોરથી બોલો તો. We are not even a speck of dust in this entire existence. Why attitudes and egos? For what reason? Just it is for one reason. Over possession of values make you egoistic and into an egoistic attitude. When I talk to corporates, I tell them that if you really introspect, every third person sitting beside you is in some way more intelligent, more talented, more experienced than you. Do we all believe this? Just raise your hands if you say yes. In some way it is there. When you've raised this hand, you've given up your attitude and ego from today, right? Gone in the air. Over possession, over infatuation, overrun for valuables. You lose on values. There is a famous story, the vulture and the little girl. World famous photographer Kevin Carter was in Sudan to picture, to click some famine related shots. And the famous shot that you all might have seen is a small little Sudanese girl, unable to walk because she had not eaten since 5-7 days. She was crawling but could not move. She was thirsty because she had not drank water for 1 or 2 days. And behind her, a vulture was slowly approaching her. The vulture was slowly approaching the little girl, waiting for the little girl to die so vulture could have his food. Kevin Carter saw this and he clicked this picture, which became world famous. And because of which, Sudan started having inputs of huge UN aids. After taking the picture, he straight away headed for the airport and went back to his country. And because of this picture, he was well lauded all over the world. Major TV channels celebrating him. In one of the programs on the stage, the program included a small phone-in program schedule. So one of the callers at that time called to ask a question to Kevin Carter. That, sir, after you took the picture, what happened to that little girl? And Kevin Carter said, sorry, I don't know what happened to her. I was in a rush. So after taking the shot, I rushed to the airport because it was my flight time. The person at the other end said, sir, I will put it this way, that at that time there were 2 vultures there. One had the beak, the other had the camera. You should have helped the little girl after taking that shot. She was struggling to reach the United Nations feeding center from where she could get water and food. You should have picked up that little girl and taken her there. Imagine, that means, if at all, at that very moment, if the vulture had pounced upon that little weak girl dying out of starvation, I think you would have clicked another picture and got more acclamation for that. That words of that phone-in program person who called him took so much possession over Kevin Carter that he slipped into depression and ultimately committed suicide. Kevin Carter, the world famous photographer, would have been alive today had he taken that small little girl starving for food to the UN center, which was just a few meters away. Overrun for valuables. That means fame and money has made us less humans. We are less on valuables. You may try to possess the valuables that you want, but at the same time, you should not be less on values. Otherwise, you cease to be a human being.